This is Access 2016, Module 3, Part 8. In this segment, we're going to be looking at creating a calculated field within our query. And this calculated field is going to be done using simple mathematical formula. These usually include multiplication or division, adding or subtracting, something that does not require logical expressions, things of that nature. So let's get back into our river view. We will be getting into some more complex calculated fields again in Module 5. So you will see calculated fields again, but they will become much more complex. So let's go ahead and go to Create and Query Design. So we're going to add two tables to this query. We're going to start out with our visit table, and then we're going to add the billing table. Then I'm going to enlarge this so I can see all of my fields. And then we're going to be ready to add our fields. So we're going to start out and add our visit ID, the animal ID, the visit date, and then over in our billing table, we're going to add the invoice item, the invoice paid, and the invoice amount. Now we're going to start out by making sure that our query is only including unpaid invoices. So I'm going to come down to the criteria column, or excuse me, row, under the invoice paid column, and I'm going to type the word no. Now you can see it's trying to put a function in, and I don't want it to, so to get rid of that screen tip, I'm going to hit the escape key, and then I'm going to tab out of that field. Now I'm going to click Run. I want to make sure that only boxes that are not checked are showing up. Once I make sure that my criteria is working correctly, then I can go back to the design view and I can uncheck the show box on billing pay or invoice paid. I need to keep that field there because it has my criteria, but I do not need to see it in my result set. So we're going to now save this as unpaid invoice late fee. Let's go ahead and click Run, and you'll see that I have all of these invoices that are unpaid. My invoice paid field is no longer showing. And back in design view. The next thing we want to do is we want to calculate a new field. So I'm going to do it in two different ways so that you can determine which way you think is going to be best for you. I'm going to call them, the first field is going to be late fee, and then I'm going to call the second field late fee 2. All right, so the first way is I can click in the very first available field. That's where I want to put it. And I'm going to use something called the builder. You want to make sure before you open the builder that you have saved your query. If you haven't saved it, when you open the builder, you're not going to see a list of fields that are in your query. Makes it much easier if you see those fields. We are going to take the invoice amount, So I'm going to click on that, double click it, and then type the asterisk for multiplying. And I want to multiply by 2%, which is 0.02. And I'm going to say OK. I'm going to enlarge this so you can see it a little bit better. If you notice in front of the formula is invoice amount multiplied by 0.02. In front of it, it says EXPR1. EXPR1 is your field name. So if I want the field name to read late fee with no space, that is going to be my field name. Now we're going to go ahead and click run so we can see if it worked. And you can see that it did. We have a couple of issues though. It doesn't appear to be in dollar amounts because of the number formatting, and also the column heading does not have the spacing in it like the rest of our captions did. So let's go ahead and go back into design view so we can learn how to fix those things. So we're going to save our query, and I'm going to open up. Notice my highlight is still in this late fee. I'm going to open up the property sheet. This is the property for this field. So notice here I can choose a format. I'm going to tell it currency. I'm also going to tell it that I want 2 decimal places. And then finally, I'm going to come down to the caption, and I'm going to say late space fee. Go ahead and close the property sheet and click run. And you see now it looks like a dollar amount column as well as the caption has fixed the name at the top. Let's save our query. Let's go back to design view and let's look at this one other way. Some people get confused trying to use the builder. If you can remember the format to put them in, you do not have to use the builder. You have to put the field name. We're going to call this late fee 2. And then you have to have a colon. Next, you're going to add the space and put your formula in. Field names have to be in square brackets. So you can see there's a lot to remember. You have to go square bracket, invoice AMT, and it has to be the exact field name that you see over here. Square bracket to close it, multiply by 0.02, and if you run, you get the same dollar amount. So we're going to go back to design view. If we wanted to fix the formatting, we'd go to property sheets. We can change it to currency, 2 decimal places, and we have a caption that we will say late space fee space 2, and then run, and you can see now you have both of them. So you can enter your calculated field the same way. You can come up to the ribbon and use the builder, or you can simply type it in. One thing that definitely will make it much easier to use the builder is if you do remember to save your query before you open the builder so that you will see a list of fields to choose from in your query. So I'm going to go ahead and close this query. That is a calculated field. And it's important for you to remember that you must have the new field name followed by a colon and then the formula used to create or to calculate that field. It must be in that format, and it must be in the field row in Design View. So if we go back and look at that query one more time, notice every time I calculated a new field, I put the field name followed by a colon followed by the formula in the field row. Nothing is in the criteria row. It all has to go in the field row. That concludes our first example of working with calculated fields. You will see them again in Module 5, where you will be looking at a much more complex one involving an if statement.